By popular request, the Theranos Hypothesis. Oh, the parallels will blow your mind. Hello humans, and welcome to another episode of Gen X Gamer. Yes, I saw your comments. And it's all about the Theranos Hypothesis, right? What are we talking about here? Well, for some of you are not, that don't follow stocks and so on and so forth, let's just go over really quick the Theranos story so you can see the parallels between this company and in television entertainment. I'm telling you, it will blow your mind. Alright guys, so the story of Theranos is basically the story of Elizabeth Holmes, right? And it's basically a woman who dropped out of Stanford at 19 to make a startup, Theranos, right? And it was, back in 2014, it was a startup of a blood testing machine, basically. And back then, Theranos was a revolutionary type company in Silicon Valley, right? And she was touting herself as a female Steve Jobs, basically, right? And she was like the world's youngest female self-made billionaire. And it was one of the brightest at that time Silicon Valley startups. And she was valued at a point at like 9 billion, right? So we're talking about massive amounts of cash here. But the shortcomings and the inaccuracies, right, of the machine were exposed. It was never able to get approval, a full approval for what it was supposed to be doing. As a result, she was ousted as CEO, right? And the company was forced to close its labs and testing centers, and ultimately it had to shut down altogether, right? So let's go really quick through a timeline so you guys can see what happened and how it happened. All right, guys, so here's a small timeline. So on July 2nd, they score their first approval. Theranos, they get approved for their finger prick test, and that's just for herpes though. Right, so Theranos temporarily halts those tests to wait for further approvals, because remember, their claim to fame was going to be that this one finger prick test is going to diagnose many diseases, right? It would revolutionize the industry because, instead of taking jars of blood like they do now, you would just have to do a prick on your finger and you'd be able to get the same type of results. And then after that, they get partnerships, right, with major health issuers, aka major retailers, GameStop, Amazon. The company starts its East Coast expansion with a deal with Capital Blue Cross to open Theranos wellness centers in Pennsylvania, right? And then on July 16th of 2015, they get approval for a waiver that lets its herpes fingerprint prick test be run outside traditional labs. Right, so this is the big seller that you're going to be able to do this like at your CVS, and they did get some machines in CVSs and stuff like that. So, but this was specifically for herpes, but their claim, right, in the future, and what the idea that people invested on is that this machine was going to do the same for many diseases and be able to do it outside a lab setting, like at CVS, thrifties, whatever store you want to mention, wellness centers, and it would give access to many people. So the investment opportunities that would generate were in the billions, because it was big. That was a huge promise of profits in the future, aka 10x returns. So what happens with these kind of claims and this kind of money is, they come under scrutiny, right? So some things that are happening here in October 2015, for example, you have a bombshell Wall Street Journal report that questions the accuracy of Theranos test. That would be like, for example, the Ars Technica article or several other articles that came out there, right, reporting on the troubles that the machine was having. And then after that, the FDA claims that Theranos is shipping uncleared medical devices, right? That's like the reviewers receiving the machine and claiming that it's not really working that great. It's kind of a mess, right? That these are not retail ready. And then after that, you have Theranos on November 2015, they lose multi-million-dollar partnership You can compare that, for example, to Amazon right now saying, nope, everybody's getting their money back, we're out. Now, the similarities here, right, the parallels are amazing. You have CEOs that are raising money basically with prototypes that have not yet been approved, right? Theranos had approval for herpes, right, but they never got the full approval for what they were trying to sell. Intellivision has never gotten approval, but they had a machine that they can demo. They had machines that they could demo, right? The number of machines varies depending on who you talk to, but they were never finalized. So you're basically just testing on prototypes. What do you hear from people that are enthusiastic about this project is, I played it. The fact is, you don't know what you played, and it was the same thing with Theranos. Yes, they had prototype machines, but they weren't working. They actually put them in stores, right? But it was unreliable technology. But here's the main parallel between both these companies. Both these companies use the same strategy to raise funds. They would make a promise of what they were trying to do, and they would try to raise the money to make those promises happen. And they couldn't deliver, right? You can't create talent with money. You can hire talent with money, right? But if you don't hire that talent to make those things happen, you're up shit creek. And that's what happened to Theranos, and that's what's happening to the Amigo. This is why people compare these two companies, because the strategy was the same. It looks, by every single piece of evidence that I can see, that Intellivision made promises that they were hoping to fulfill with the money they were raising. However, they didn't have the expertise behind them, just like Theranos did not, to make that ultimate machine happen, right? You need to have the talent to make that happen. That's why you make the machine first, and then you go sell it, right? That's what you have to do first. But when you don't have the talent, when you're seeking to raise money and then you think that eventually you're going to make it, that's always, and I mean always, going to be a loser. Because you can't spend your way into success when you don't have the technical skills. As soon as Intellivision, for example, raised all that money, what they should have done is hire top quality personnel to work on this thing. Maybe you wouldn't have gotten built, but you would have had prototypes that were approvable, and based on that, you could have raised more money. And it's the same parallel with this company. They raised so much money, but how did they spend it? Right? These companies did not do what they promised they were going to do. And that's a hard pill to swallow for many investors, just like the investors now on Intellivision that can't believe what's going on and are in denial. The same thing happened with the Theranos investors. They believed in the CEO. They did. In the same way, Intellivision fans believe in their failed CEO, right? And being a failed CEO, right, is not, I know some people get triggered when I say that, but it's true. If you didn't accomplish your mission, if you didn't take the company to where it needed to be, you're a failed CEO. That's true with Holmes, and it's true with Tallarico, right? The same thing happened. They failed to meet their job description, and that's why they were removed. And believe me, I believe, they didn't step down, either of them, right? These were forced step downs because the failure is so huge. At some point, the people with the real money behind the project have to step in and try to save what's left of whatever's there, right? But the parallels here are amazing. The tactics used to raise money are pretty much the same. But what I want to do is I wanted to go back and look at those fundraising strategies, right? I dipped my toe in it a while back when I made this video. But now I'm going to go even deeper. When I made that video, I got a lot of blowback, right? Because, it's like I always tell you, I'm going to tell you what you need to know, not what you want to hear, right? And at that point, I told people what they needed to know. They didn't listen. But now I'm going to delve deep into how and the why, right? And it's going to be very uncomfortable for some people, right? But I'm going to tell you what you need to know. And the reason is this. In the retro community, there's a lot of easy marks for people trying to raise money for different projects. And that's what we're going to get into in our next episode. Believe me, this Amico thing isn't over. Not at all. Just off the top of my head, I can think about 10 business episodes that I can make on the Amico alone. New videos every Monday and Sunday. Thank you for joining me on another episode of the Gen X Gamer. Remember to like and subscribe, click that notification bell, and remember, never ever be afraid to be happy. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.